Just to note that we have a senior personnel appointment today, which is not a surprise, as it's been hinted, but it is now official. Today, the Secretary General, following consultations with the Executive Board of the UN Development Program, wrote to the President of the General Assembly requesting the General Assembly to confirm Alexander De Croo of Belgium as the new administrator of UNDP for a term of 4 years. The General Assembly confirmed the nomination today. Mr. De Croo succeeds Achim Steiner of Germany, to whom the Secretary General is grateful for his leadership and commitment to the organization. He also wishes to express his appreciation to Hao Liang-shu, Associate Administrator of UNDP, who's been handling the interim and will continue to do so until Mr. De Croo's arrival. Just as background, Mr. De Croo has dedicated much of his career to public service, advancing global solidarity, combining political leadership, development cooperation, innovation. As former Prime Minister of Belgium from 2020 to 2025, he worked closely with multilateral institutions to steer structural changes for people in some of the world's most vulnerable regions, having consistently supported UNDP as a key partner, and we welcome Mr. De Croo to the UN family. As far as the Secretary General, he just arrived in Belém in Brazil a few hours ago, where, as you all know, COP30 is currently underway. As I told you last week, during the first few days, he will be meeting with negotiating parties, including various regional groups and ministers. He will also engage with civil society representatives and indigenous peoples and youth, and we will update you on his program as it goes along. Turning to the situation in Gaza, our colleagues with the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs warned that the humanitarian situation remains very difficult, with many people struggling to access the basics they need to survive. Following heavy rains on Friday, humanitarian teams carried out a rapid assessment of impacted areas over the weekend and provided some initial aid. More than 13,000 families are estimated to have been impacted by the flooding. According to our partners working on shelter over the weekend, they helped distribute at least 9,000 tents, 83,000 tarpaulins, and 59,000 blankets, with thousands more planned in the coming days. While we and our partners have moved swiftly to respond to rain-affected areas, our efforts remain constrained by inadequate volume of shelter and other necessary supplies allowed to enter through the UN coordinated mechanism. With temperatures dropping and winter fast approaching, we must be allowed to expand the shelter response to meet the vast scale of needs across the Gaza Strip. We continue to call for unrestricted, for rapid and sustained access, the opening of additional crossings, facilitation of entry of tents that are currently restricted, as well as critical equipment to maintain storm drains and repair sanitation networks, permission for NGOs to bring in supplies, and the safe movement of humanitarian convoys. Since October 10th, at least 9 attempts by the United Nations and our partners to bring in tents have been rejected. Our partners working on food security report that with the volume of food parcels entering Gaza having increased in recent days, they plan to resume the distribution of 2 food parcels and 1 bag of flour across the Strip. Earlier this last week, distribution in the north had to be limited to high-energy biscuits and 1 bag of flour because partners working in to bring supplies were facing impediments, including the deprioritization of humanitarian cargo at crossings, customs clearance delays, and lack of access to northern crossings. Meanwhile, our colleagues working on efforts to remove rubble and debris from roads and communities tell us they've cleared 100,000 tons of debris since the ceasefire came into effect. However, nearly 58 million tons of debris and rubble remain spread across the Gaza Strip, and only half of that amount is currently accessible. We and our partners continue to collect supplies daily from crossings. Over the weekend, we and those who are working with us started collecting supplies that had been offloaded at the Zikim crossing, and we're bringing them into Gaza. This is after 2 months when that crossing had been closed. Our teams collect over 2,700 pallets of essential supplies. That's about 2,600 metric tons. Overall, between Thursday and Sunday, we and our partners collected over 5,400 metric tons of assistance from the crossings. That's what the UN 2720 mechanism dashboard is telling us. Supplies included food tents, tarpaulins, blankets, mattresses, and animal fodder. Moving north to the latest developments in southern Lebanon, I can tell you that the Secretary General is indeed deeply concerned by the increased frequency of incidents impacting the safety and security of our peacekeepers in Lebanon. Yesterday, an Israeli tank near one of the IDF positions located north of the Blue Line opened fire towards northeast of Sadra in Sector East. Rounds of fire hit approximately 5 meters from our peacekeepers who were in the vicinity. UNIFIL requested the IDF to stop the firing immediately through our liaison channels. Thankfully, no UNIFIL personnel were injured. The Secretary General reminds all parties of their obligations to ensure the protection of UN personnel and property. Peacekeepers must never be targeted by attacks. And in a separate incident also yesterday, a drone fell inside a UN position southeast of Marwahin in Sector West. A grenade was discovered beneath the drone and detonated by our explosive ordnance disposal team. Our peacekeeping colleagues are trying to determine the origin of the drone. Also yesterday, a UNIFIL radar detected 2 separate shelling events where a total of 4 120 millimeter short mortar shells impacted northwest of Sadra and Sector East. All shells were fired from south to the north of the Blue Line. Meanwhile, UNIFIL peacekeepers continue to discover unauthorized weapons caches as well as unexploded ordnance in their area of operation. Yesterday, peacekeepers found a rocket-propelled grenade and ammunition in the vicinity of a 50-meter-long tunnel northwest of Frun in Sector East. UNIFIL marked the area, and as they do, they informed the Lebanese armed forces about their find for disposal. Back here, the Security Council is holding an open debate today on conflict-related food insecurity, a critical issue. Just in the past year, the Famine Review Committee has confirmed famine on 3 separate occasions, twice in Sudan and once in Gaza. This marks the first time that conflict-driven famine has been confirmed more than once in a single year. Briefing the Council, our Deputy Secretary General, Mina Mohammed, emphasized that war and hunger are intertwined, with starvation increasingly used as a weapon. She noted that while global military spending reached $21.9 trillion over the past decades, ending hunger by 2030 would cost $93 billion. For her part, Joyce Masuya, our Assistant Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, urged Council members to use their leverage to address hunger in conflict, calling for stronger policies and practices to protect civilians and facilitating humanitarian action. Maximo Torero, the chief economist of the Food and Agriculture Organization, told the Council that food insecurity is no longer just a humanitarian challenge, but a matter of global peace and security, waiting for famine to occur before acting and before it is too late. Turning to Ukraine, our OCHA colleagues report that hostilities over the weekend caused dozens of civilian casualties and further disrupted critical services amid cold weather. According to authorities, widespread attacks between Saturday and this morning killed at least a dozen civilians and injured more than 60, including 5 children. In the town of Balaklia in the Kharkiv region, a missile strike killed 3 civilians and injured 15 more, among them 5 girls. Additional casualties were reported in Chernihiv, Dnipro, Donetsk, Kharkiv, Kherson, Sumy, and Zaporizhzhia. Humanitarian organizations responded immediately after a deadly attack in Balaklia, where they delivered bottled water, snacks, hygiene items, blankets, and construction material, and also offered mental health support. Authorities and our partners report that residential buildings and critical infrastructure were damaged along the front line. In the region of Odessa, a drone attack left more than 30,000 households without electricity, while strike in the Chernihiv region disrupted power in several communities. Scheduled power outages continued across much of Ukraine following recent attacks. Power disruptions remain particularly severe near the front lines, where our partners report that nearly 70% of locations they've assessed or face frequent or prolonged outages, while some have no electricity at all. These outages continue to affect the water supply, heating, and telecommunications, with direct consequences, as one can imagine, on civilians and our humanitarian operations. Meanwhile, OCHA says that evacuations from frontline areas continued over the weekend. And a quick update from our peacekeepers in Abyei. The UN Interim Security Force for Abyei, UNISFA, reports it's completed repairs on maintenance on the Banton Bridge over the River Kir. This bridge is a vital link between Abyei's central and southern villages and an important route for trade with South Sudan. The bridge had been unsafe for months, restricting civilian movement, access, and the patrols of our peacekeepers. Separately, UN peacekeepers also cleared a route from the northern checkpoint to Amiet Market by removing stranded vehicles and repairing rain-damaged road sections. You will have seen the Security Council on Friday extended the mandate of the peacekeeping force for another year. And while Hurricane Melissa has moved on, we're starting to uncover even more lasting consequences. Our colleagues at UNICEF tell us that 3 weeks after the storm hit the Caribbean, nearly 477,000 children are experiencing significant disruptions in their schoolings. That's in Cuba, Haiti, and Jamaica. With many schools damaged or closed, children have been forced to miss classes or study temporary spaces that may not be equipped for proper learning. In response, UNICEF, working with local governments and partners, are delivering supplies and are trying to rehabilitate damaged schools. In Cuba, UNICEF has pre-positioned supplies to reach 21,000 students, including school kits. They're also supporting efforts for rehabilitation there. And in Haiti, UNICEF provided 2,800 school kits in South and NIPS departments, and additional actions are planned in the coming weeks. And in Jamaica, the agency has provided teaching and learning material along with up to 100 temporary learning spaces to support 10,000 children. Our colleagues call on donors to protect education by mobilizing money to address the most urgent of the children's needs. More details online. Just to flag that at 1:15 this afternoon, the Deputy Secretary General will be one of the speakers at the dedication of the Flowers of Srebrenica Memorial just outside the building in the garden overlooking the East River. You're all invited to attend. Bosnia and Herzegovina donated the Flower of Srebrenica Memorial to the Secretariat earlier this year as part of the Srebrenica Genocide and UN Outreach Program. The permanent memorial forms an integral part of the Srebrenica Genocide and UN Outreach Program, which engages visitors in reflection and commemoration. And this is part of our colleagues' activities to mark the 30th anniversary of that genocide in Srebrenica. Today is the World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims. Every year, 1.2 million people are killed in road crashes, and another 50 million are left injured or disabled. Jean Todt, our special envoy for road safety, says today we remember every life lost on the roads and stand with the families whose lives have been forever changed. And in his message for the day, the Secretary General notes that solutions exist, from improving infrastructure and legislation to enforcing safety laws and sharing best practices across border. Lastly, tomorrow 12:45 there'll be a briefing here organized by our good friends at the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs to launch the World Urbanization Prospects 2025, a summary of results. Speakers will be Björg Sankjer, DESA's Assistant Secretary General for Policy Coordination, along with John Wilmoth, who you all know as DESA's Director of Population Division, and Sarah Hertog, DESA's Population Affairs Officer in DESA. I'm exhausted too. Gabriel, go ahead.
Thank you, Steph. One on Bangladesh and one on Gaza. First on Bangladesh, does the Secretary General have any reaction to a Bangladeshi court sentencing Sheikh Hasina in absentia to the death penalty for her alleged role in the violent crackdown last year?
What we fully agree with what the High Commissioner Volker Turk said, is that we stand against the use of the death penalty in all circumstances. That's on the death penalty. Now, I'd refer you to what Volker Turk's office said, and that the verdicts delivered today is an important moment for victims of the grave violations committed during the suppression of protests last year in Bangladesh. I think our human rights colleagues have been calling diligently, I can't speak English anymore, sorry, for perpetrators, including individuals in position of command and leadership, to be held accountable. Accountability is critical. It is, of course, very important that people remain calm in Bangladesh following the issuance of the verdict, and for all to exercise restraint in response to these developments.
If I can get one on Gaza, as you probably recall, last week there was a plane load of Palestinians that were essentially stranded in Johannesburg. It initially was portrayed as voluntary migration. However, after further review, it appears that a private third-party company in conjunction with the Israeli military, or with ties with the Israeli military, was behind this, and it is not voluntary. It was perhaps, by early indications, after further review, forced transfer. My question is, can you remind us, as we move forward in the next phase of the Gaza ceasefire, assuming we get there, what the Secretary General's stance is on Palestinians that perhaps choose to leave at the behest of the Israeli authorities, or the difference with forced transfers and where the SG stands on this?
We stand firmly against any forced transfer of population, whether it's in Gaza or anywhere else. The incident that we saw and we followed like you through the media is very bizarre indeed. It is critical that there be full investigation, that clarity be brought to this incident, and we would be very disturbed to learn that people had been forcibly put on a plane and sent halfway around the world against their wish. And I can assure you, though you didn't ask, that we were not involved in any of this operation as well. Ibtisam Azam.
Thank you. First, follow up on Gabriel's question regarding the airplane. I mean, as you know, no one can leave the Gaza Strip without the permission of the Israelis. I guess, what do you make of that? The fact that people were moved, or whether they paid themselves or not, the fact that the Israelis knew all about that and sent them to a place where they didn't know where they were going.
Look, I mean, the incident is extremely bizarre, right? And that's why I said to Gabriel that the South Africans, I understand, are starting investigation. People need to get to the bottom of this. Nobody should be forced to get on a plane and to be sent somewhere without their approval. Again, I think the facts at this point still remain murky, but it is not an operation that seems to meet international standards by any means.
And well, Mr. Fletcher was very optimistic that he will give me an answer on the question, but I will try. Does the Secretary General believe that there should be an arm embargo on all parties in Sudan?
The Security Council will have to decide on that. For the Secretary General, it is very clear. The last thing Sudan needs now is more flow of arms, more flow of weapons, more flow of drones. We're seeing horrific violations of human rights, horrific violations of international law. And the international community, including the Security Council, should do whatever it can to support the mediation efforts that involve the African Union, that involve IGAD, that involve the UN and a number of member states. And we need to see a stop to the fighting. David.
Thank you, Steph. Two questions. This afternoon, 5 o'clock, there is a UN Security Council meeting on Gaza. The expectation is that there is a U.S.-sponsored resolution on tap to be voted on the Gaza plan. Where does the Secretary General stand on that? Is there I know the Palestinians made a statement last week that they are in support of this. Is there sort of a unifying effort on behalf of getting this resolution passed? And the second question is that last week we talked about the Russians having their own plan. Where does that fall into place in relation to the resolution that is on tap for today?
Well, as you know, David, I'm not going to speak on behalf of the Council or members of the Council. So there are negotiations going on. Our words may not be helpful to those negotiations. I mean, what we've always said is that a strong voice from the Security Council is always helpful. We want to see more humanitarian aid go in. We want to see the phase 2 of the plan be activated, which would lead to a political process with a view of establishing the hope for a two-state solution. Deji.
Yes, now on Japan. Prime Minister of Japan, Takaichi, last week said something that a Taiwan contingency would also be a Japan contingency, which led to another round of tension between China and Japan. Can you remind us the official position on Taiwan of the United Nations?
It's based on the relevant General Assembly resolution, which I've reminded you of.
So the official language in documents still is Taiwan a province of China. Is that correct?
I'm not aware of any change in General Assembly text. What we would like to see is a lowering of the tensions between these two very important countries in the region, and the resumption of dialogue to diffuse the current tensions.
So should a member state of the United Nations respect other nations' territorial integrity and sovereignty?
Look, we want to see a lowering of the tensions. Every member state should support and respect the Charter. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Stéphane. Two questions. One, there was a conference today at the United Nations on the establishment of a nuclear-free Middle East. Where does the Secretary General stand on that?
He stands for it, and I would. There is a message that was issued in his name, which I would refer you to. The Secretary General stands against the proliferation of nuclear weapons and stands for the denuclearization of these weapons.
And there are some news reports coming out of Italy that it has begun an investigation into the so-called sniper safaris, the claims that tourists paid to go to Bosnia and kill civilians. I'm just wondering if the United Nations, if these claims are supported by reports from back in the day by like UN, United Nations.
I've seen these press reports, and you know we talk about horrific things every day in this room. What is described in the press reports is almost beyond words. We very much hope that this investigation will run its course, and of course we would cooperate with it in any way we could within the usual parameters. Yes, ma'am.
Regarding your employees in Yemen, we have heard that Houthis, they start investigating them. Did the UN take any action towards that?
Well, I mean, as you know, our colleagues, I think it's about 59 of them, remain arbitrarily detained. We have been actively engaging with the Houthis to secure their immediate release. Can I say no? No.
I'm not sure if you... okay, so the question related to the resolution, but indirectly, the U.S. resolution on the... so the resolution doesn't give the UN a large role in the rebuilding efforts. It's most of humanitarian. And I'm wondering, until now, there were other rebuilding efforts from previous wars in Gaza. And if I'm not mistaken, and my question is, which role did the UN play in the past?
We've played.
Was it more?
We've played many different roles in Gaza and the various reconstruction of efforts in Gaza after different phases of destruction in the Gaza Strip. Okay, I see Joe's face. I don't know if that means you have a question or you're just looking at us.
I do have a question.
Excellent. Nice to see you, Joe.
Yeah, nice to see you. My question concerns at least reports that in connection with the COP30 summit in Brazil, that many trees in the Amazon forest were taken down to build a 4-lane highway to the city of Belém, where the conference is being held. Now, put it in context, apparently this highway was in planning stages for several years. However, it was the COP30 conference that gave it the final push. I'm wondering how the Secretary General feels about seemingly contradictory action to provide better access to this conference by actually taking down portions of the Amazon forest, which are vital for fighting climate change.
Well, I think the Secretary General has always been very vocal about the defense of rainforests, including the Amazon. As for where the conference is being held, how it's organized, that is a question to ask the host. As you know, it is member states who choose where the conferences are held. Okay, on that note...
I realize that, but I'm only asking in terms of, the Secretary General has repeatedly emphasized the existential threat of climate change. And here, in connection with the conference dealing with that issue, you have an action that's contrary to the whole agenda by removing rainforest trees. And I'm just wondering what his views are on that. That's all.
Many points that you state in your question are facts, and the Secretary General, as I said, has always been a defender of the Amazon and will continue to do so. Enjoy the rest of the day in Iftisam's